Hello, everyone.
Hey people, guess what day it is?
We're doing a cold open because
It's Spotify Rap Day.
it's Spotify Wrapped, and we want you to inform us about your Spotify Wrapped this year.
But just the
Only
podcast
if,
part, I don't really care about your
yeah,
top song. Well, I kind of
only
do, let me know.
if. I think it's pretty fun if we find out, like, people who have us as their top podcast, what music they
Yes,
also listen to. So we only care about your Spotify Wrapped if you also listen to Bad.
this is
So
true.
yeah. Yeah. We know that there's 69 of you who have us as their top one podcast.
Yeah,
So
that is the stat
all
that Spotify gave us.
69 of you
69 of
should tell
you.
us. 69. I love that number and I'm very grateful that there's 69 of you guys out there
You have to
who
stop
has us as
saying
their top one.
69.
I think it's so funny.
It's really good.
But this cold open is going on for way too long.
Just tag us on Tumblr and we'll
Just,
love you
yeah.
forever. Thank you.
Tumblr, Twitter, email. You can
Sure.
do it. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Let's get on
Bye.
with the episode.
Yeah, have a good episode.
Hello, my name is Gray,
And my name is Crystal.
and this is Bustation Beauties, a supernatural commentary podcast where I, someone who has seen this show several times.
And I, someone who only knows the show through social media, discuss every single episode of Supernatural from start to finish. Also, we are both Asian.
Both Asian for today's episode. I still have not pulled out. I have not pulled out. What's the name of this episode?
Who
It's True
have you
Blood,
not
right?
pulled out yet?
Wait, don't say pulled out independently like that. It sounds weird. What's the
Yeah.
name of this episode?
Fresh Blood.
Fresh. I was looking up True Blood, and apparently there's a TV show called True Blood.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there is.
okay, so today we're talking about season 3, episode 7, Fresh Blood, written by Sarah Gamble, directed by Kim Manners.
Death to Sarah Gamble's. I can't finish the second part of that because he did die.
No, no, we're horrible people.
Cut that out if you want.
Oh, it's funny. I'm putting it in. So, what are our pre-episode thoughts?
Hatred, biting, killing, which are all things that do happen this episode.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
had I don't know. Like sometimes you watch an episode of a show and you're like, okay. And then that's your only reaction.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt about this episode. They were trying to do a lot of things. And the only
Yeah.
thing that actually affected me emotionally was the very last thing that they did. The one with the car.
Right, yeah, where Dean is showing Sam how to fix up the car. Yeah, that was a nice scene in an otherwise horrific episode.
Yeah. I mean, at this
Yeah.
point, is this a horrific episode or is this just an episode of Supernatural? Maybe
I mean,
Supernatural
both can
in
be
on
true.
itself is horrific, and we need to
Yeah,
accept this
like
fact.
to contextualize like where I'm at, like since watching this episode, the media that I have consumed are all of season 1 of the Interview with the Vampire 2022 show, Little Women directed by Greta Gerwig, and The Farewell directed by Lulu Wang. So at the end of that, my main thought about Supernatural is why am I still watching it? There's a limited amount of time in my life, and perhaps every single thing I could watch other than Supernatural would be better than Supernatural.
Yeah, I've been saying since like last episode that I've been playing and actually finished playing The Great Ace Attorney.
Oh,
And
yay,
it's
congrats.
such good media.
Yeah.
It's such a good story and
Mhm.
everything, and it's like, why am I watching Supernatural? Like, there are moments when I was playing The Great Ace Attorney, because like a major theme of that game is like the people you look up to are not always gonna be good. Shit like
Mhm.
that. And I was like
Yeah.
thinking, they were also trying to do this in Supernatural, and it was not this good.
Yeah, they try to do a lot of things in Supernatural, and it was not that good.
Yeah. So, what did you know about this episode before watching it?
Gordon escapes from jail, gets turned into a vampire, goes all bloodlusty, and then gets murdered horrifically.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
summary. We can end the episode now.
Okay, goodbye, everyone. Come back
Goodbye,
next
everyone.
week for a very supernatural Christmas. Email us at, okay, anyway. But
Uh,
yeah, I
yeah.
also knew about what Sterling K. Brown, the actor for Gordon, said about this episode. Like, I'd seen the excerpt from the interview that he had. Should we just read that now?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Go
Yeah,
on.
so, okay, the interviewer asks, in season three's Fresh Blood, Gordon is transformed into a vampire. How did that sit with you? And he says, that was really hard. I called Eric Kripke when I first got the script and realized I was going to be expiring. I wasn't so bummed about expiring because all good things must come to an end. The thing that was horrific for me is that Gordon turns an innocent girl into a vampire. That was hard because his sister was turned and he had to take her out. That began his career as a hunter. So I know Gordon does a lot of Jack things and isn't the most righteous individual, but did he have to do this? Eric was like, we talked about it for a long time, but now that he's a monster and operates off instinct, he is not so logical. When the bloodlust comes on and you have the desire to feed, it is huge, and your strategy does not take into consideration collateral damage. His endgame is to kill Sam, and anyone else who has to experience detrimental effects because of that is not a concern of his. That was tough for me to process and get on board with. Sorry, Sterling K.
Yeah.
Brown. You went to
Sorry, dude.
Juilliard for this.
It's like when the whole time Gordon was, doing his thing, all I could
Yeah.
think of was like, this should be more emotional for him because of
Yeah.
his backstory.
Yeah.
Like, that was Sarah Gamble also wrote that episode. So, like,
Yeah.
why did she forget?
Yeah. I don't think she forgot. I think she just assumed that he didn't
Doesn't
have
care.
feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is weird given that they were trying to do the whole monsters can have feelings too thing for like God knows how long.
Right. Yeah, like she did the episode with the good vampires that have feelings, but as soon as the vampire is not the pastiest white woman that ever did live, no more feelings.
So to start, we have Gordon talking to Bella like in the middle of a road.
Yeah, I do
And
enjoy this interaction. They're good characters to face off.
yeah, because like Gordon is like so dictated by like what he deems is good and like stuff like that, and then Bella is like a
Uh-huh.
money person. It's like fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so at first Bella doesn't know who this guy is, and then he says, "Oh, I'm Gordon Walker." And she looks a little bit alarmed. And she's like, "Oh, I know who you are. I've heard about you." And they start talking, and Gordon has a gun pointed at her. And it's basically saying, "Tell me where Sam and Tina is, or I'll shoot you." And they even do this thing where Bella's like, "Well, you can negotiate with me." And then he puts down the gun, and it's like, "Well, in exchange for telling me where Sam and Dean is, you get to stay alive." Stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
actually super fun. I like
it
this
is
scene.
fun.
And eventually what happened is Gordon was like, "I can give you 3K." And then she goes, "I don't wake up for 3K."
Yeah.
But she sees the little hex bag. What they call it something in the show.
A mojo bag?
Yeah, a mojo bag. I find it hard to believe that Bella would say mojo bag, but like mojo is like
Is
an actual
mojo's,
word.
yeah, hoodoo thing. So I
Okay,
think it's
got
like
it.
specifically like a bag that has powers that derives from hoodoo.
Ah, so it's Dean who's using it wrong.
Wrong, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So she sees the mojo bag and she's like, "Oh, that's priceless. If you give it to me, you'll find the Winchester brothers." And Gordon eventually does. And Bella calls Dean and
Yeah.
goes, "Hey Dean, where are you?"
God, she's so real for this.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, Dean picks up like right away.
This
This man is dickmatized for real.
this man is smitten.
It was so good to see Bella. I didn't know that she was gonna be in this episode. Um, oh yeah, also I think in this scene, Gordon calls Sam Winchester the Antichrist,
Antichrist. Yes,
which
yes.
is very fun. Love that name for Sam. Also, the last time Bella saw Sam was Sam getting sexually harassed by an old woman, so I feel like this is a strange thing for Bella to be hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, Sam and Dean, they're like working a case. They're like near like some warehouse, something in the dark, and there's a man who is bleeding out on the ground. And Sam's doing the whole like, don't worry, we're getting an ambulance for you, while Dean's doing the, where is she? Where's the vampire? That's this horrifying man. Um, so Dean runs off, and he does this thing that I've seen gifted a lot by people who want to fuck Dean Winchester. Uh,
Yeah.
so he tries to lure the vampire out by like making a cut across his forearm. Um, he goes like, "Smell that? Come and get it." And he says, "I smell good, don't I? I taste even better." Okay. And a woman who has her face covered in blood comes over and like tries to bite his neck, does bite his neck, and then he injects dead man's blood into her and she passes out. Sam comes over and tells Dean, like, hey, that was kind of a risky play there, which is something that continues throughout the episode.
Uh, I
We've
hate it here.
done this for so long. We've done this
I
for so
know.
long.
It's been 7 episodes. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, I get that the main conflict of the season is that Dean is dying. But have we
yeah,
considered that we can have other conflicts in the season? I mean, I
yeah.
guess Sam trying to be killed by Gordon is a conflict, but like, it's ended
Sam what?
now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that one ended pretty fast. Also, like, I find it strange that we haven't seen like Ruby for a little while because they've pushed the whole Dean Steele thing as a subplot for like so hard in this episode and some of the previous episodes, and I feel like we never really resolved Ruby saying that she could get him out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, whatevs.
What else? So, back in the motel room. No, are we in a motel room? The transfer
Yeah,
says it's a motel room. Is
yeah,
it?
but it looks sort of like they're squatting because
Yeah,
it seems like
it's
it's
just a
an
house, I
apartment
think.
or a house. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the girl from earlier is tied up to a chair and she wakes up and she is very confused and like almost crying, she's miserable. And Sam
Mm.
and Dean are doing their bit of like, where's your nest? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, huh, nice try, bitch. But where's your nest? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Right. Also,
eventually,
like,
yeah.
she's very tits out, which I guess we find out later is because she was turned at a club. But, like, oh, do we have to do this? Do we have to?
Yeah.
Also,
She's
she's blonde,
like
which I
wearing
guess is
like a
relevant.
corset. Yeah, she is blonde, and that's gonna be a thing.
Jesus Christ.
Love that.
Love that.
I don't know why that's making me laugh,
I
but
just,
I'm sorry, blonde women. You've
yeah,
been
I'm
through
sorry,
enough.
blonde women. Like, you have a lot of privileges in life, but one of your not privileges is that every serial killer wants you. So yeah,
Yeah.
F to you.
The vampire lady is saying that she took something, and that kind of alarmed Sam, and he's like, wait, you took something? And she mentions, it's so fascinating to me that they never say the word drug
Yeah.
in this episode. Because what happened was, she was like in the club, and then a guy came up to her who was the dealer, and he said like, I can give you something that you've never experienced before. And then he put it in her drink, and then she became like this. And by like this, like, she can hear heartbeats from like a block away. Lights and sunlight and sounds and everything are so intense. The smells, everything, stuff like that. And what she's saying is basically, she can't come down. Like, it's fascinating to me also that they never say the word high. It's so funny. Like, she's like, oh, I took something and it was from a dealer, but like, never say the word drugs. And she keeps on saying, I want to come down. I want to come down. I just want to come down. And then Sam and Dean like go to the other room to talk it out.
Yeah,
And
they also ask what the guy looks like, and she says he was old, like 30.
30.
How old
Wonderful.
is she supposed to be? Because like the actress, like I would say, is like 25 to 30 years old. Like how old is she supposed to be?
The guy looks like 26,
Yeah,
like,
and she looks like 25.
30. So like, what's happening? What's going on?
He was old, like 30.
This
Do they think
woman
that
is
only
operating.
teenagers watch Supernatural?
This woman is operating on K-pop age standards. You know how like.
Oh, I was gonna say she was
like
operating on some queer elder standards.
If you were on Tumblr when Super Hulock was big, you are a queer elder. So the Sam and Dean go to the other room to talk about it, and they're like, "We have no choice. We have no choice." And Dean goes back to cut her head off. Yeah. And like, I was a bit uncomfortable by the fact that there was no like any pushback anywhere.
Yeah. Like, we know that vampires can subsist off of animal blood. Like, they met Lenore like last season, so it would be possible to just inform her of the situation and then tell her that she has to feed on cattle. When
or they can hand her off to Lenore.
Yeah, right. They don't have Lenore's contact info because like she
maybe they do.
ran off. But yeah, they should have gotten Lenore's contact info. When Maddie got turned, they called Bobby to ask if there was a way to unturn a werewolf.
Yeah. Like,
they did not bother here.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. Well, like, with Maddie, it's because Sam was in love with her or whatever they had going on. But like this poor woman, because Sam did not feel an ounce of affection for her, just gets to die.
Yeah. And also,
like, it's so prominent.
They deceived her earlier. They were like, if you tell us what happened, we'll let you go.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Also, like, it's made even more prominent, like the Madison and this girl comparison, by the fact that the shot where Dean is like cutting her head off is pretty similar to like how the Madison's episode ends. You know what I mean?
Right, because
Like
it's
it's like
Sam's face,
on
and then
Sam
you
only,
hear
and
the
then you
knife.
hear,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's like it really takes you back to that episode, and you're like, why didn't they try to do literally anything?
yeah, yeah. It sucks. It sucks so bad. Ugh.
Yeah.
So we cut to a hospital room, and the guy that was bleeding out because of the vampire that they just killed, he's there. And Gordon and Kubrick, baby, are here.
Jesus man is back. Jesus guy
Jesus
is
man
back.
is back.
And is it just me? Or is Jesus guy and Gordon, do they have a little something going
Oh,
on?
they definitely have a little something going on. Yeah.
They have a little something going on.
I
And I
feel like they
love
didn't
that.
have that much going on last time. I feel like since Kubrick helped Gordon escape, they've had a few stray hookups. So,
Like, I mean, spoiler, but Jesus man dies this episode, and the death
yeah.
scene was so like it was like Hannibal, the scene where Hannibal guts Will type of situation. I'm right though. I'm right though.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that is what romance is. So yeah, you are right. Right. The two of them are questioning him. They're FBI agents. Oh, I didn't manage to pause and see what the name on Gordon's badge was. I don't know if it was there. It'd be fun if he also did like rock stars. Uh,
What do you think would Gordon have put as a
like,
name?
what do I think Gordon's Spotify playlist looks like? I have no idea.
Do you think it's like a rule in hunter culture that like you should go with a pop culture reference, or do you think that's
No,
just Sam and Dean? And if
I
so,
think
like
Sam
what
and
do the
Dean are just
others
losers.
do? What do the others
Um,
do then?
they
Just
probably
random
like
ass names?
actually like try to look up an actual FBI agent
Oh,
and
that's
take their
smart.
name.
Yeah. Just like what
Oh.
Dean did that episode where he turned out to be like, where
Oh,
he
he
was
pretended to
like,
be a
I
cop,
got the Michael
and the
Jackson
cop
disease.
was black. Yes,
Yeah.
just like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Gordon asks about the person who attacked the man, and he was like, yeah, it was some woman who bit me in the neck, and they asked, did any of her blood get inside of you? And he was like, no. And Gordon says, well, that's good because we would have had to kill you. And he just stares the guy down afterwards. The guy's like, haha, good joke. And Gordon just unblinkingly looks at him. Is Gordon usually this bad at being an FBI agent?
I mean,
Like, he's
kind
considered
of,
a very good hunter. Like, he should
yeah.
probably be better at this.
Yeah, but you know, this episode they were trying to do something,
Yeah,
I
like
guess.
he's so scary and evil. So yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. And the man mentions, oh, like these two guys rescued me, and Gordon's like, huh, what did they look like? And the guy was like, oh, one of them was really tall.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you were a witness to Sam and Dean's shenanigans, how would you describe them? Two
Uh,
white guys.
two white guys, lumberjack look.
Yeah.
Um,
I would,
yeah, I
I
don't
think I
know.
would, I've never met a person who was 6 feet tall. Like that's my basis of like,
Huh. Wait, really?
that's my,
Just not even 6 feet?
I don't think so.
Huh.
Like, I don't think so. Cause like the average height of Filipino men are like 5'8", something like that. And like for women, it's like 5 foot. So like, I don't,
Average?
I don't, let's look at the average height for men.
Okay.
Average height men Philippines. Okay, average height for a Filipino man is 5 feet 4 25 inches tall. Average
Wait,
Filipino
five
woman is
four?
four. Yeah, short
Okay,
king. And
short
for women,
king.
it's 4'10".
Wait, 4'10"? No, that can't be
Yeah,
right. For real?
I am 5'3", and I'm the tallest person in my friend group. I am like
Wow.
considered like if I'm in the train and we're standing, I'm towering over everyone.
Huh. I always
Yeah.
assumed you lived your life as a short person, but okay.
I'm only short person in comparison to you, and also like every single girl I've dated.
Ugh, good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
I think I would be like, oh my god, they're super tall. Because,
hmm,
my basis for height is quite short.
they're leaving Spider, which is the club that the earlier woman said she was at. And they reveal exposition-wise that apparently all the people who have gone missing have been blonde women. Um, and three of them have gone missing from here. And then they see this guy with a blonde woman like going around into an alley, so they follow them.
It's so weird
And
that they were like, one guy is going out with one girl. That must be the vampire. And they were right. Like, that's the amazing thing. They were right.
yeah, good for them. So the guy, he has this like eyedropper sort of thing, and there's blood in it. Don't you have to? I thought you had to bite them and then feed them your blood. You could just feed
Um,
them your blood and that's enough?
I think so. Because, like,
But an
it's
interview
if
with
it's
the
in the mouth,
vampire
right?
had to.
Well, interviewing the vampire with the vampire. I don't know. What is it called? It's
Interview
IWTV. So
with,
it's interview
yeah,
with the vampire.
the
And
vampire, yeah.
Supernatural run in very different leagues. So,
They actually mentioned that decapitation is a way to kill a vampire in Interview with the Vampire, though, and Dead Man's Blood is a thing, too. So they should be
wow.
consistent lore-wise. And, since Interview with the Vampire is the better piece of media, then its lore is the one that should be respected.
For
But
the
yeah,
very real creature that is the vampire.
exactly. This is the more scientifically backed show. So, yeah, so he is about to put some of his blood in her mouth. Do people at clubs really just take drugs from random people? Like, I know that they do, but like, do they really?
I don't know. I'm not the type to like know anything about drugs. So like
That's
don't
fair.
ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so before the blood can get into her mouth, Dean like starts beating up the guy. Sam pulls her away and tells her to run. And there's a bit of a fight. The vampire runs off, but you know who is there is Gordon and Kubrick.
I love that.
Yeah,
They literally just showed up and like it's such a bad timing, bro.
yeah,
It's such a bad timing because what happens next is there was a fight scene and as you know, I do not know how to describe fight scenes, but basically like they're just fighting.
yeah, true. They
And then
sure are.
and then Gordon gets cornered by the vampire. I have no idea how this happens. Like the logic did not flow for me when I was watching the scene.
Yeah, right. Sam and Dean Dean does a thing where he like decides to like let Sam escape by distracting Gordon and Kubrick by like jumping around on
Yeah.
cars as they shoot at him.
Yeah, like it's like a very big deal because it's like he's jumping into the line of fire.
Yeah, blah blah blah. He's being so
Yeah.
reckless. Subway Surfers
Yeah.
Natural is real though.
Anyway, and then Gordon is like attacked by the vampire. I don't know why the vampire. Oh, okay, I get it. Like I was wondering, like, why is the vampire attacking Gordon? Didn't he technically help him? But like he
Right,
knows
but
Gordon. He
yeah,
knows
because
Gordon.
Gordon killed his sister.
It's
His
literally like music killed my grandma, but like Gordon killed my daughter or something.
Wait, who killed whose grandma?
In Trolls?
In Trolls?
Yeah.
I saw watch Trolls.
It's the funniest thing. Like, there's this one guy, and like the trolls love to sing and scrapbook and stuff like that. And then this one guy is like, I don't want to sing. And then they give his backstory. And the backstory is like he was singing, and then his grandma died.
Oh God! Wait, you know how the Cruella live action movie Dalmatians killed Cruella de Vil's mother? Like a bunch of Dalmatians ran her mother off of a cliff and her mom died.
Dalmatians killed my grandma. Music killed my grandma. Gordon killed my daughter.
Yeah. So
Anyway, back in the motel room, we just have Sam because like Dean is still out and getting shot at. And when Dean enters, Sam's like, "Oh, thank God, where have you been? What took you so long?" And Dean makes a joke that's like, "Oh yeah, I got some pie or something." Good for him.
yeah.
It's a joke, right? Like he didn't actually like go out for a slice, or
I don't know.
you
Maybe he
never know
did.
with this guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Sam berates him for doing the whole go in front of the weapons. And then they start talking about Gordon and the fact that he's out of jail. And Sam asks, "How did he find us?" And Dean stops in his tracks and goes, "Oh my God." And then he calls Bela.
Yeah, Bella.
And basically Bella is like super laughy, like, yeah, I gave your location to Gordon Walker. It's fine for money. And he's like, "Oh, you terrible, horrible, no good, very bad person." And then Bella says like, "Oh, I mean, I was gonna call. I just got sidetracked. And also, like, he's just one guy." And Dean goes, "There were two of them." And you can see Bella's face fall, which I thought was surprising. Like, does she actually care about the Winchester brothers? Who would have thought? I mean, they did save her life.
Yeah, it's quite cute, especially because like when she says, "Oh yeah, I sold your location for money," like Dean doesn't seem that mad, but when she's like, "What was I supposed to do?" Like he seems mad that like she didn't call to warn him. Oh well, because she says he had a gun on me, and like Dean's sort of like, "Okay, that's fair enough. You should have just given us a heads up."
Yeah. Anyway, Dean says that like if we make it out of this alive, the first thing I'm gonna do is kill you. And Bella is like, "You're not serious." And Dean goes, "Listen to my voice and tell me if I'm serious." Like he's really doubling down on him. And you know what? Something I realized in this scene, maybe I am a Bella apologist. Because like,
who's not a Bella apologist?
I don't know. People of IMDb are not.
That's true.
But I am. And this is a girl boss moment for her. And she redeems herself. So like it's fine. Who cares? I am willing to admit all the mistakes.
Were we supposed to be mad at her for selling their location? It was literally fine, and she should have done it more.
I know. I'm willing to forgive Bella for her mistakes, which are nothing. She has never done anything wrong.
Yeah. Exactly. Also, she looks genuinely scared after like Dean threatens her life.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't know, which honestly seemed a little excessive to me. Like, is Bella really that scared of the Winchesters? Maybe a little, but
Maybe a little, but also like she should have known that they're not gonna kill a human being.
I mean, they've
A
threatened to
white
kill her
girl?
like
A white woman?
once every 2 minutes that they've been around her, but yeah.
No, but or were they actually trying to kill her?
No, but
Hmm.
I feel like they would not. Well, I mean, they were going to kill her by omission by like refusing their help.
Yeah, they're refusing to help. Yeah.
So, yeah. So we cut to a warehouse where the vampire we saw earlier, who I don't think gets an, oh no, wait, he has a name. It's like Dixon or something, right? Whatever, who cares? So
Yeah.
he's in the warehouse. Gordon is there. He's tied up, and what he sees around him, there's like two young, attractive blonde women who are like chained up by their wrists. Ah,
Mm.
and yeah, it's such a stereotypical like horror serial killer den, and I'm very sorry to these blonde women.
Yeah.
So, right, the vampire comes in and he starts feeding them blood, and yeah, Gordon talks with the vampire a bit. The vampire says that he considers these women family. And I do what I have to. We're a dying breed. I wasn't sure throughout this episode if we were supposed to feel sympathy for this guy. Because he has a whole monologue later, too.
Yeah. I
But,
think
like,
we're supposed to see in him, in his desperation, the desperation Dean had when he sold his soul for Sam, like stuff like that.
oh,
Uh,
interesting. I did
like
not catch that.
later
That's
when
true.
he was
No, that's
like,
true. Very, yeah. He was like, I was desperate. Have you ever felt desperate before, Dean Winchester, when you sold your soul to save Sam? Yeah.
yeah. So
God,
that
it's
that
so
was what
fucking
they were trying to
corny.
do. Yeah, oh my God.
Okay. Yeah, I just feel like if they wanted him to be sympathetic, like they didn't have him specifically go after hot blonde women he clearly wanted to fuck. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, right. So he says, like, I know you, Gordon, because you're like one of the most prolific vampire hunters out there. Like, we're going extinct because of you. And the whole time Gordon's like insulting him and insulting vampires. Um, yeah, the vampire does the whole like, oh right, like we're so much worse than you, I'm sure, even though you guys killed a bunch of people too. Honestly, I'm getting a little bit tired of every single antagonist in an episode being like, you think we're so bad, but you are also just as bad. It's just silly at this point.
It's repetitive, but also what if consider this a villain who
Yeah.
was just bad just because, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm bad because you're bad too and we're bad together. Like, why can't he
Yeah.
just accept that maybe you're an evil person and then stop at that?
Yeah. Yeah, like why can't he just be like, yeah, I am bloodthirsty. Isn't that fun? So he reveals that Gordon, I think, probably apparently killed his daughter, or like just hunters in general killed his daughter, and I don't even know if Gordon was one of them. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and this guy refers to the blonde women he has chained up as his new daughters, which again, very weird because they're clearly like the sexiest blondes he could find at this club.
Also, it's like like we saw him with that one blonde woman earlier,
Yeah,
and that was
right.
not a daughter.
Yeah, no, they were about to start humping each other. So yeah, Gordon is also reluctant to believe this, but he calls these women fang whores, so that's great. Um, Gordon, yeah, there's just more Gordon insulting vampires. He says something about like how they spread their filthy disease on pure base instinct, which yeah, I feel like is connects to the way I feel like a lot of vampire media connects to serophobia. But yeah, the vampire is like, huh, well, I've decided because you're being so vampire phobic that I am not going to kill you. I am going to do something that you will find worse. And he turns Gordon into a vampire by like pressing cuts on their arms together.
Yeah.
And yeah, Gordon struggles and yells. He's not having a good time, but alas, it has happened.
Yeah. His scream, like he's screaming, no! And then it cuts to like a wiring sound to like Dean
Yeah,
sharpening his
sharpening.
machete.
Yeah, that
How
was
do you pronounce
a
machete?
it's
Is it
machete,
like
I
that?
think. Yeah,
Machete?
machete. I don't know.
Machete.
Machete.
That's such a gay way to pronounce it. I think in Filipino it's machete, so like
Mhm.
I am confused. But he's uh he's sharpening that. And I thought that transition was super cool. Like I
Oh
liked
yeah, it
it.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. And Sam and Dean are trying to figure out what to do because the vampire is out there, but like Gordon is also out there. So they can't kill the vampire if someone's out to kill them. So Dean starts saying like, well, if we find Gordon, you do know he's not giving us much of a choice, isn't he? And Dean was like, yeah, let's go kill him.
Oh, Sam,
And
yeah, Sam was like,
as
yeah,
yeah,
let's go
Sam
kill him.
goes, yeah, let's go kill him.
Ugh.
And Dean goes, oh, really? I thought you would have been like, and then he puts on a voice,
Mm,
very great core. He puts on a
yeah.
voice and he's like, I thought you were gonna be like, no, we can't. He's human. It's wrong.
Mm,
I found this so amusing. Good for him. And
yeah. I do find it annoying that they show Gordon being turned into a vampire before this scene happens because
yeah,
it's
so like
like,
you as the audience, you're like, it's okay if they kill him because he's a vampire now. But like,
yeah,
they didn't know that.
yeah, they didn't know that. That's
So
true. So it is still a moral decision that they have made, which is a bad one.
yeah. And
But I feel like we
uh
forgive, like they did this so that the audience would forgive them faster because we know that he's not human anymore.
anyway, Dean's phone rings. It's Bella. And Bella
Yeah.
is saying that she doesn't like it when she's being threatened by people. So, uh, she found Gordon's location. And she did this by like channeling someone, I think, or like a Ouija board situation,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
Where she like connected with someone from the dead and the person from the dead found out where Gordon is, which I thought was super fun. And she gives a location, kind of a vague location and like some street signs or something. And then she said that the spirit also said, don't come for Gordon no matter what. I found this so weird. Like, why would the spirit say that? What's the
Um,
point?
I don't know. Just maybe the spirit was like, he's a vampire now and it'll be hard for you to fight him.
Why would the spirit care at all?
Yeah, I don't know who this spirit is.
Yeah,
'Cause
maybe it's John Winchester.
at this point the blonde women who were turned into vampires recently are still alive, right? So it's not
alive.
their spirit. I get if it was their spirit, they'd be like, this guy literally just gnawed my head off, like, you should run. But yeah, I don't think that's the spirit she channels, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
because they're still alive at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah, don't come for Gordon Walker.
Yeah, it was
And
just to build suspense in the episode.
yeah, and like here, like Gordon, we're back to the warehouse, and Gordon wakes up, and he's chained, just like the other girls,
Mm.
and
He's not
uh,
like other girls, but he is like other girls.
he is like other girls in this situation. He's tied up, and then there is like a beating heart and like rushing of blood sound effect that's playing over the scene. So like you're supposed to be in his consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And he's like struggling through the chains, and then he finally rips it out, and he starts to walk away when one of the girls goes, help us. And well, it's
It
like a
cuts.
suspense what happens. So it cuts
Yeah.
after they ask for that. But he goes out into the street, and like we see him look at some lights, like a street light, a neon sign, and it's like way too bright, way too bright. And then a car passes by, which I thought was like 17, but it's not. It's just some random ass person.
Mm.
And those lights are too bright. And then he like looks over to one side of the street, and there's a guy like fixing a tire,
Mm.
and he like looks at him with bloodlust and like
Yeah. Also, his
repressing
eyes
his
are really
hunger.
bloodshot in this scene. Like,
Yeah,
he does not look like he's slept well. And I feel like we didn't
yeah.
really see that with the other vampires.
I don't
But yeah, maybe it's
know.
just a side effect of the light sensory overload king.
Yeah. And what he does is he hops into the car of that guy. And then when the
Mm.
guy finishes with the tire and hops into the car, he bites him and
Yep.
feeds on him and kills him. My
Yeah.
my my thought here was like, why make him finish the tire? Like, spare him the misery of changing a tire by killing
Maybe
him instantly.
Gordon took the car to drive to the RV.
That's a wonderful idea and probably true.
Mm. But yeah, okay, like I guess I sort of like I know that when you're first turned, your hunger is very severe. So I guess I can excuse this first killing, but I do feel like Gordon would try very hard to have more control than he's having right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd. So we cut to the warehouse. Sam and Dean go in, and we see what happened to those two new vampires because their heads are gone. And original vampire guy's on the ground crying and shit. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Go ahead, just kill me."
I like the reveal of of the of the beheaded girls.
Yeah,
I thought the is this special effects, what's it called? Practical
practical
effects
effect.
were
Yeah,
very good this episode.
yeah.
So, and I mean, practical effects in Supernatural, especially in these early ones, are like mostly good most of the time. It's the visual
Mm.
special effects that are like, well, that sucks, but like these ones were pretty good. So
Yeah.
hats off
Yeah,
again
though.
to the
Yeah.
styling. I don't know what
The
department is this. I guess this the practical
props.
effects department, the props
Mm,
department. Yeah,
yeah. Though, yeah, I do think that one thing to mention is that Gordon's like victims throughout his arcs have pretty
yeah,
much
our white
exclusively been
women.
like
Yeah,
young, attractive white women, and that's like a very specific thing, like black men menacing a white woman is like an image used in a lot of white supremacist literature and such. So yeah, I feel like the reveal was like very fun in a suspense way, but like they also did it like that to like up the horror of
Yeah.
Gordon.
Mhm.
So yeah, the vampires like, oh my God, like Gordon was here and he killed my daughters. I should have never brought a hunter here. Like he killed my family. And Dean's like, oh
And
yeah,
then
you're such a family man.
and then it's the beginning of the most contrived monologue to ever exist. Most in your face monologue to ever
Yeah.
exist.
God. Yeah, he's like, no, you don't understand. I was desperate. Have you ever felt desperate? And it cuts to Dean's face. I've lost everyone I ever loved. I'm gonna like live my whole eternity alone. Cuts to Dean's face. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe this guy was like, I've watched Supernatural and I know the only way to maybe make it through an episode is to be a Sam or Dean mirror, so I'm gonna act my vampussy off trying to do this. Yeah, the vampires, like, I just kill me, I don't care anymore, like, I'm in hell, I'm in the worst hell. Dean's like, well, the worst hell is the actual hell that I'm going to because I felt desperate, lost everyone I ever loved, and stared down eternity alone. But yeah,
Yeah.
so and then Sam notices that for the bodies in the warehouse, the heads were ripped off with their hands and not cut off, which means that Gordon suddenly has a lot more strength than he did before. And he goes like, Dixon, what did you do to Gordon? And it cuts, and we never find out if they actually did kill Dixon, but like they probably did. It just wasn't
They
important to Sam
probably
and Dean's
did.
journey.
Yeah. Yeah. The next scene is the Hannibal scene.
Yeah,
It's so good. I was
yeah,
watching it and I was like, they really acted in this scene. They were
yeah,
acting, capital A. But basically, like Kubrick is in the RV where we saw him also like I think flirt with another guy like a couple episodes back. So
yeah,
there is a pattern with this guy. Too bad he's
yeah.
dead.
He has a
Uh
Jesus painting next to him, of course.
yeah. And then what happened was he hears a sound outside, so he peeks out the window, but then he turns around and Gordon is there. And he's like, what happened to you? I thought they killed you. And Gordon says, like, they did something worse. They turned me. And they're so near each other.
They're so fucking close.
They're so near each other. And Kubrick goes like, I'm sorry about that. And you
He
know what
puts
this
his
means,
hand
right?
on Gordon's shoulder when he says, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Gordon is like, yeah, it means you have to kill me, but not yet, because I still need to kill Sam Winchester. And Kubrick is like, Gordon, come on, man. Like, we can't do that. I can't let you walk out of here. And Gordon insists that, like, this is the one last thing that I can do good in the world. That sentence is not correct. This is the one last time I can do a good thing for the world. There we go. And throughout this, Gordon is like looking at the crucifix, which is so funny. But he's looking at the crucifix and he's like, yeah, I'm trying to do a good thing. And then Kubrick is like walking in the back and he grabs a machete, and he like slowly faces to Gordon and he's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's one last good thing. I agree with you. And we go to Gordon's perspective where he hears the heartbeat and all that stuff. And then right as he's about to slice Gordon's head off, Gordon turns around and inserts his hand through his heart.
Yeah. So good.
Wild. It's so good. And it's like the way Kubrick dies is like they stare at each other for a little while.
Yeah.
And
he
then
falls
he
onto
falls
Gordon's shoulder.
onto Gordon's shoulder. And Gordon like kisses his forehead, right? Or does he just turn his hand? He
I
turns
think he
his hand in a
his
way
head.
that made me think like he's kissing his forehead. And I was like, wow. Wow. Good for them.
Yeah, and he goes
One
like,
of them is dead, but like
sorry.
good for them. Yeah, he says
Yeah. No, this is truly romance. What, like, Hannibal ate, like, what part of Will did Hannibal eat?
I have no idea. I don't think that's true. I don't think he ate any part
I
of
thought there was
Will.
a time when he dug one of Will's organs out and ate it.
No.
Maybe that's not true. Oh,
No.
I think he just force-fed Will their daughter's ear. Never mind, that's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, romance.
But this was literally reminiscent of the gutting scene from Mizumono, which is the last episode of season 2 in Hannibal. Have you seen that?
I
You don't
have not
you
seen
never
Hannibal.
watched, right? Yeah, because it's
No,
too
I
brutal for
haven't.
you. Yeah.
I just like they just don't seem very nice. You know, they don't seem like nice people.
Maybe maybe Hannibal the cannibal is not a nice person. Have we considered that?
I just don't like that he killed their daughter. I just think that if you have a found family, you should be nice to each other. Like you can kill other people, but you should be nice to each other. So they're back in the motel room. Sam and Dean are around, and Dean hasn't been able to find Gordon yet. And Sam goes like, hey, give me your phone, because if Gordon knows our numbers, then he can track us down. And then it looks like he's just going to take the SIM cards out, but actually he's just stomping on the phones.
Yeah. He's stomping with his giant foot on the phone.
Yep. And Dean comes back with the Colt, and he's like, Sam, you stay here, and I'm just gonna go out and get Gordon. And Sam goes like, no, you're not gonna do that alone because you are going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam starts getting worked up. He's like, oh, you're just acting like you have nothing to lose because you think you're already dead. I'm sick and tired of your kamikaze trip. Yeah, Dean says I'm more like a ninja, and Sam says that's not funny. And he's right, it's not a good joke. So yeah, Dean's all like, what do you want me to do? I'm not just gonna sit around and write sad poems. And Sam goes like, Dean, like, stop joking about everything and stop trying to act like you're not afraid because I can see right through you.
And then
yeah,
the
Dean says, how do you
corniest
know
music.
that? Yeah.
And then the corniest music starts playing.
Piano music. The thing is, I feel like if there wasn't this music, I might actually be a little tiny bit touched by the scene. But as soon as the music came in, I was like, this is the silliest thing I've ever seen on the screen with my own two eyes.
It literally is.
Like, it's sad piano music. As Sam goes
so
like,
silly.
I've been following you my entire life. I've been looking up to you since I was 4, studying you, trying to be just like my big brother. Sam would not fucking say that. Yeah, so he says, I know you better than anyone in the entire world, and this is exactly how you act when you're terrified. And he goes like, I wish you would drop the show and just be my brother again. And he starts tearing up a bit, and he says like, just cuz. And the podcasts have worked. Yeah.
Like when he was saying like just cuz, I was thinking like he said like because, and then like in my mind filled up the rest of the sentence with like, we just have like less than a year together. And so
Mm.
like when he continued like just cause, and I was like, oh, he stopped himself from saying that.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. So Dean's like, okay, fine, we'll stay here. I Has Sam been looking up to Dean since he was 4, wanting to be just like his big brother?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm the older sibling, so I guess I don't understand Sam's position in the family as well. But
I've never looked up to a sibling ever.
yeah, I think my
So
sister
I don't
has
know.
looked up to me before a bit, but I think that was more our parents doing the whole like, why can't you be like Crystal thing? So
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
sure
know.
John, do you think John ever did a why can't you be like Dean thing to Sam?
Yeah, maybe like why can't you just be like obedient, just like Dean,
Right,
the most
yeah.
obedient child in the world.
Yeah. So, but I don't really think that's what Sam's saying here. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I did like these lines, just the music was so bad. Like, I don't know. I feel like we often think that the brothers don't like each other very much, and they probably don't, but they do know each other.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Do you think they
maybe.
know each other? Do you think that's true? I think like,
I
well,
think that
knowing
growing up with
someone is like,
someone means you sort of
yeah,
have to.
yeah, but like, like who you are in front of people differ. So like, I think there's still room for surprises in the both of them. Like,
Oh yeah, I
because they've
agree.
only been interacting with each other for so long, for like prolonged periods of time. I think they know each other around each other. But I
Yeah,
doubt that they know each other in terms of, like, what are you like when you're with somebody else?
yeah,
Which I think is also an important part of your personhood. So,
yeah. I agree. I think maybe I'm having this reaction because I'm annoyed by like the Dean fan posts that are like, Sam will never understand Dean because when Dean's around Sam, all he does is like act to try to be the perfect parent figure to Sam, blah blah blah.
that's
Like that's
untrue.
stupid. Like that's
The
stupid.
perfect parent figure for Sam. Sure, why not?
Blah blah blah. Yeah, like I feel it like first Dean does not do that. I don't think he does. Second, like
Like,
you can't spend like 18 years like with someone like every single day and
pretending.
not
Yeah.
yeah, not trip up like at least like 10-ish times. So,
And also, like, every single time you are a person, you're a real person.
mm,
So, like, even if you're like faking it, you're
yeah.
still real in the faking. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So,
Yeah, I
like,
think
I
so.
think it's unfair to be like, he's always faking. Because, like, if you're always faking, then that's just who you are.
Yeah.
So, like, the argument doesn't fly. I
Mm.
support my idea better, which is we're different people in front of different people. So, like,
Yeah.
like they know each other around each other.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
for example, like with Charlie later on, like Dean is like, very sweet and loving with Charlie in a different way
Mm-hmm.
than he is with Sam. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like maybe Sam is surprised by that. Stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. Blah. I
Yeah.
got tired of explaining myself halfway through.
Well, yeah, I got it. You're right. Um, yeah, also I feel like is this sort of is a tiny bit of a reveal on like for Dean because I feel like we've seen him talking to Casey, for example, and he said that like, he's not really that scared because he's just tired. And I feel like we were
Mm.
supposed to think during Sin City that like since he's not talking to Sam, he is being honest with this demon that he just met, but like Sam knows that Dean is terrified, and maybe Dean thought he was being truthful when he was talking to Casey, but like this is like confirmation that he is definitely scared whether or not he knows it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dean gets a call, and it's Gordon. And apparently Gordon tracked them down, or he got the number because he could smell Dean over at the cell phone store because Dean bought a new phone after Sam smashed theirs. And Gordon says, like, you have to come to me, because I have a woman who I have held hostage. And you have to come here in 20 minutes or the girl will die. And Dean goes like, Gordon, don't do this. You don't kill innocent people. You're still a hunter. And Gordon goes, no, I'm a monster. And okay, this was the thing that Sterling K. Brown did not like, and Sterling K. Brown was right.
We have Sam and Dean going to the place, warehouse, factory, whatever it is. And they untie the lady and they carry her out. And Dean is like, Sam, stay close to me. And then while they're walking out, Sam is like lagging behind, like maybe 3 steps max.
Yeah.
And the moment Dean steps out of this like one room, the door from like, like the thing they used to close up stores, it falls down and locks Sam inside and Dean outside.
Yeah.
And all I could think of is
what
like,
was Gordon's plan if Sam wasn't walking by?
the thing I thought of was like, how are they able to lock this? Like, is it like an automatic mechanism? Because it's so funny to me that they were like, oh my god, it fell. Let's try to kick it down. Like, why don't you try lifting it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
They were having the time of their lives trying to kick down this metal door. Obviously, it's not working. So Dean is like freaking out, like, be careful, Sam, be careful, Sam. And then on Sam's side, the lights turn out.
Yeah.
And Gordon starts speaking in like the middle of the dark. And
yeah. He's so real for this. He's like watched so many horror movies in preparation to make this as dramatic and cool as possible.
Yeah, it's like Sam is like, get out of here, Gordon. I know you're here. And Gordon's like, I'm here. And then like Sam like tries to swing the knife at him and he's like, ha 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 ha. Like Gordon literally went ha 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 ha. And yeah, so this is just what's happening. And basically Gordon is saying like, I sacrificed everything to be here in front of you right now and like get the chance to kill you. Gordon calls Sam like not human, and then Sam goes like, look who's talking. And then Gordon's like, well, I'm a bloodthirsty killer, but I guess that's one thing in common for the both of us. And Sam says like, you're not a bloodthirsty killer by instinct, you are by choice because you didn't attack that poor woman. And Gordon says, I didn't. I did something much worse. And then we cut back to Dean, who is fighting for his life trying to open the door. And the girl has turned into a vampire and is trying to attack him. And he shoots her with the Colt.
Yeah.
Which feels very like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want the extra gore. Let's just use the Colt.
Yeah.
That's something Sarah Gamble said. She literally said it. She put it in the script. I don't want the extra gore. Let's just use the Colt.
Yeah, or maybe the props team was like, we've made too many corpses for this episode. I don't like want to do another headless body. Can we just shoot her?
Exactly. And Gordon says like, I know you, Sam. I can see right through you. We're the same. And it's too bad because you won't do the right thing, which is kill yourself.
Gordon's on a Reddit forum replying "kill yourself" to Sam Winchester.
He's flooding Sam Winchester's messages right now. KYS,
Anon
KYS, KYS. Yeah. And he says, like, basically, it's what I'm gonna do after I'm done with you. It's a shame that you wouldn't do it for yourself. So now I have to be the one to do it. And then we start seeing, like, the place from Gordon's perspective. So it's like red tint. Because it's like dark, right? So like for Sam, it's just dark. And for Gordon, it's like red. And like he sees Sam clearly. And then he attacks. And they fall out of the wall. Like the wall collapses.
Something.
The wall collapses. And they're fighting for their lives. And Dean comes in and starts attacking Gordon. And Gordon like actually bites Dean. So Dean is all bloody. And then I don't know what happens next, but what eventually happens is Sam ties a cord around Gordon's neck. And it's such a long scene. This is such a long scene. He like pulls the cord to opposite directions and like strangles Gordon until the head gets cut off.
Yeah, it's pretty excruciating.
Yeah. And like I'll finish this scene first and then we'll talk about it. And then Dean is like recovers from his neck biting situation and he's like, wow, you just killed a super vamped up Gordon with no weapons. And then he like cracks a little bit of that's a bit reckless, huh?
It's such a stupid joke.
So stupid. But okay.
Sam did not choose to be in that situation. Right. Also, I feel, and also after Sam kills Gordon, like we get a bunch of like extra shots of like Gordon's headless body, Gordon's head on the ground, like letting out like a last breath, and it's like not good to look at.
Yeah, here's the thing. I like actually me and Crystal were talking about this earlier. Why am I suddenly talking about you like you're not here? But we were talking about this earlier, and I said like something I find, because a part of this scene that you're supposed to feel is, oh, Sam is vicious. Sam, like maybe he is different. Like that's something that I think you're not, even though it's not explicitly said, it's something you're supposed to think. I just find it fascinating, and by fascinating I mean, oh my god, supernatural, that like they keep on doing this specifically to Black men. Like it's always like Sam is vicious, Sam is like a different person, but every single time like the victim is Black men. Like they do it with what's his name? They do it with Jake, and now they're doing it with Gordon. And it's like both of these deaths are so visceral and so violent in comparison to a lot of other deaths in the show.
Yeah.
And it's just like, Crystal, say the thing that you said to me after I said this earlier.
It was, they were like, well, we have to show that Sam's going off the deep end, but we can't make him irredeemable, so let's just have him kill a Black man.
Yeah, it very much has that vibe.
Yeah.
And it's quite frustrating. And also, let's talk about, because this is the last we see of Gordon. Obviously, he's dead.
Yeah.
But I think we've already said before that, like, his characterization, you know, a lot of people have said it probably better than we will, but, like, his characterization is, like, racist. But, like, specifically the way the arc ended. What are your thoughts on it?
I feel like I do feel like a lot of the stuff that I'm bothered with Gordon like come from earlier, the way that they set him up to be like he's fantasy racist in this world without real racism, or this world where we refuse to acknowledge actual racism. And the way that like they set him up to be like this evil, vicious hunter in order to make Sam and Dean look better, which is fucking annoying. And yeah, I guess I was thinking in the shower earlier today, like in the world where like Gordon is the main character of Supernatural, like he like would get a season where, he's shown as this badass hunter, but he's like not very he's like he doesn't really distinguish between like creatures that can or can't control themselves and like stop hurting people. And then like him being turned into a vampire would be an opportunity for him to go through character growth by like understanding how hard it is to resist the bloodlust, but also understanding the amount of like reason and sentience he still has. And like I feel like if they wanted to turn Gordon into a vampire, like they didn't like, but they did it here just so that they could kill him without feeling bad about it. When there
Exactly.
were like a lot of narrative opportunities to develop him as a character, they just did it so they could get rid of him.
Exactly. Like that's the crux of it. They turned him into a vampire so that they can excuse murdering him. That's literally it. And
Yeah.
the thing is, again, like you said, like a lot of the things that I don't like about Gordon, what happens to Gordon in this episode, are actually like considerably very little things. Like, for example, like if you're gonna turn him into a vampire, why not acknowledge his backstory? Like we've said this
Yeah.
before, like it's such an integral part of his character, and it's one of the very first things we learn about him. So why not bring it
Mm.
up now? And it's like it's frustrating in that way, because if they really wanted it to end this way, then
Mm.
fine, it started on a bad note. If they want to like cut it off, I
Mm.
mean like the story and the character, then like
Yeah.
okay, fine, but you could have done it better, and you could have like acknowledged that he is a person with like a backstory that you already gave him. Like you're not even inventing a new one, you've already given it to him. And you can have him just have like very little character growth, you know
Yeah.
and it's frustrating that they were like, no, we just want to get rid of him, and we don't want the audience to think much about it, that like maybe
Right.
that's wrong of us. So
Yeah, all his
they
dialogue is
dismissed
like,
it.
I'm incapable of change and I'm a monster and you should definitely come kill me. Like,
Yeah,
okay, cool. So we're at the epilogue, which is a pretty good scene, but unfortunately
completely
exists in this
disconnected.
episode. Yeah, no, total tone shift. Like, it starts with them just like chilling out, and Sam's just like getting a beer out of a cooler. Like, neither of
Yeah,
them seem to feel that they have committed a brutal act of murder like 5 minutes ago. Yeah, so Dean has the Impala's hood open and he's poking around in there, and he asks Sam to pass him a wrench. And then he thinks for a second and he goes like, Sam, like come over here for a second. And he starts sort of like teaching Sam on how to fix the Impala.
mm-hmm.
Like he's saying these are the things that could be causing the rattle. Uh, Here are like the parts, like look, that's a valve cover.
Wow.
Yeah, he quizzes Sam a little bit about what the parts names are. Uh, it's quite sweet. And
Mm-hmm.
then Sam goes like, "Hey, like why are you like teaching me auto shop?" And Dean like hands the wrench over and tells Sam that, "Hey, like you should be the one to fix it." And Sam is surprised at this because he says, Dean, you barely let me drive this thing, which is a new development in season one. Sam was allowed to drive the fucking Impala, but whatever.
Yeah,
I will be mad
but
about this
only but
forever.
only in relevant moments where he gets to stop the car in the middle of the road and storm out.
Yeah, he's so real for that. Next time he should take the keys as he does it.
Just leave Dean stranded. So rude.
Yeah. And he goes, well, like, it's time, like, you should know how to fix it because you should know these things for the future. So they both sort of pause and feel emotions. And then he goes, and besides, it's my job to show my little brother the ropes. And I feel like you sort of expect Sam to argue or like say
Yeah, but
something
he
else about the deal, but he
doesn't.
doesn't. He just nods and he starts fixing up the car. And yeah, there they are. And up.
Okay. F ends in that note. Okay. I have a question for you. Do you
Yeah.
think all this like fanfare about Dean is going to hell and the fact that we have it for one whole fucking season,
hmm
maybe, and I'm trying to think positive, maybe this is like a good thing because like when Dean gets resurrected from hell, it feels like an even bigger deal.
Right.
Have we considered that?
That's true. It does
Yeah.
make Cass cooler.
Yeah, it makes Cass cooler because yeah, that's
And
the that
yeah,
that's yeah.
I do think that it's it's helpful in the lead up to season 4 as well because you sort of understand how much grief Sam is going through right now and how much he would have gone through during the summer when Ruby came over and
Yeah, okay, yeah.
led him into Hot Demon Bloodland. Yeah,
Yeah.
but also, it'd be nice to have a different B-plot conversation sometimes.
Yeah, it's fascinating because like literally in season 2 they just
Yeah.
dip regarding plot and then they
Mm.
resurface the plot and now it's like here's the plot of the episode and now here's the plot of the show and it's just okay, cool. Sometimes though I miss the monster of the week that's good, you know? I feel like there's no good monsters of the week this season 3 so far.
Well, I liked the changelings.
Oh, that's right. That is a monster of the week. Yeah, I think you're right. Like that one is good, but it feels so far away now. Feels so
Yeah.
long gone. Yeah. So best line, worst line.
Oh, jeez.
I think my worst line is like the daughter line. Like they're my daughters. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, bro.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Right. I guess maybe my worst line is like, I was desperate. Have you ever been desperate?
Have you ever been desperate? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but also didn't like Gordon's. Like, no, I'm not a hunter anymore. I'm a monster. Like, okay, bro. Okay, and by
Yeah.
bro, I mean Sarah Gamble.
I think my best line is probably should I go the gay route and say that it was the sorry when Gordon killed?
That was pretty gay. That was pretty good.
Yeah. What's his name even? I've
Kubrick.
forgotten Kubrick's name. Kubrick. So yeah. I like that line because it like it's nice. Good for them.
Yeah, good
Somebody
for
just
that.
died. Also, I want to point out, I forgot to say it earlier, but like in the
Mm.
scene where Gordon is calling Dean, he lifts his fingers, his hand is lifted up, right? And you can see that his fingers are like, you know how like when you get manicured and they're pink? It
Uh-huh.
looks like that because of the blood from like gripping
Ooh.
Kubrick's heart. It's just like super fun. Love
Yeah, he
that.
didn't wash it off entirely.
Well enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, so real. God, do I have a best line? Maybe I should just go with yours. I'll go with yours.
Okay. So yeah, that's not it. We
All
still
right.
have to do our worksheet. No, not worksheet. Spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet. Yeah. Right. Okay. So we have misogyny and racism. I think that both of these things are relevant this episode. I think the
Yeah.
misogyny is not too high. I'd say a
Because like
one
the
or
women don't have speaking roles.
yeah.
Yeah. One woman speaks in this, two women speak in this
Yeah.
episode. And one of them literally just says, "Help me."
Yeah. So, is that a one or a two?
I think maybe it's a one.
All right. Racism. Okay,
It's
yeah, we go from 1 to 5. It's
uh,
should we sort of consider the entire Gordon arc altogether in this rating?
you
Or
know what? I don't
yeah,
know. Because I feel like we shouldn't. Like let's just consider this episode.
okay. Right. I
'Cause-
feel like the whole
Yeah.
Gordon arc is probably a 5. I feel like this
Yeah.
episode alone a bit lower,
Maybe two,
4-ish.
three.
Oh, 3. Okay.
A three, yeah.
Okay, we can go with
Like
3.
because like we're also consider like even though we're not considering the whole arc, like it's still influenced by the whole arc. So like,
Right.
like a tree, I think is reasonable.
Okay. And I don't think we have any homophobia, so
Well, do we really put the homophobia in? Is that for real?
because of bedtime stories, we added a homophobia column.
What even happens in that episode?
Dude, could you be any more gay?
Oh my god. Yeah, it was that episode. God damn. Okay.
Yeah.
So IMDb rating. I would say this is probably rated. I have no idea how this is rated.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably middling, I
Like maybe
think.
an 8.3.
Yeah, that seems about right. I'm gonna guess maybe an 8.4 from the IMDbers.
Okay. I'm clicking. I can't see it. Hold on. I have to rotate my iPad. It's an
Your
8.4.
iPaddy.
You're right.
Oh, I
My
was right.
iPad. You're
Your
mispronouncing it. It's
iPad. I'm sorry, your
iPad.
iPad.
For context, I call my iPad in front of only myself and Crystal because I'm too embarrassed to call it iPad in front of literally anyone else.
It's
And
your friend.
I call my laptop Floppy Toppy.
I say Laffy Taffy sometimes.
It
But it's
literally
not the
sounds like
name.
Sloppy Toppy, which is so funny.
Okay, yeah, 8.4 definitely too high for this one. Let's see what takes people have. Sorry, someone called this the fluffiest episode so far.
You ever decide that you want some fluffiness in your life, and then you watch this episode and you go, "That's sufficient."
Okay, someone said that I don't know what is the writer's problem with female characters on the show. They start them out as interesting and then go mess the characters up over the course of the events. And then they said the Bella story is getting ridiculous with her using the boys in a way that makes them looking like morons. But I'm
Well, they
willing to
are
get over
though.
this. But they are, yeah. I mean, I agree with the first part, but I don't see how that connects. I don't know what they dislike about the Bella story.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
also have no idea.
It ends with, "Oh, Dean, how can you just be so great?" Okay, I know it's the crazy fangirl in me talking right now.
It literally is. So yeah, I think that's it for this episode of Bus Station Beauties. Next week we'll be discussing season 3, episode 8, A Very Supernatural Christmas. Bit early, but we're doing it.
Yeah.
Leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts.
Follow us on follow us on social media. We are on Twitter at twitter.com/beautiespodcast and on Tumblr at busyasianbeautiespod.tumblr.com. Our official tag is BABPOD, BABPod, and thank you to everyone who has donated to our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/busyasianbeautiespod.
You can email us any feedback, comments, or inquiries at busyasianbeautiespod@gmail.com. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.